Hey guys, what's up? I'm Best Goldfish, and in this video we'll be talking about sponge filters and why I love them. Okay, so first of all, there are many filters in the aquarium hobby. We have your sponge filters, we have your extra premium canister filters, your hang-on back filters, underground filters, power filters. I mean, there's literally a whole bunch to choose from. And in this video, we'll be talking about why I love these things. And yes, these are sponge filters. As you can see, I have 1, 2, and 3 sponge filters. Back there, we have the dual sponge filter, and these two are just normal sponge filters. And the reason I have 3 is because these things are efficient, cheap, etc. Okay. First of all, sponge filters are ultra cheap, like dirt cheap. Like I got these two sponge filters for like $2 each maybe, and that one was maybe like the dual sponge filter was maybe like $5. It's pretty cheap if you ask me, compared to like canister filters, which is like $150. Sponge filters are also quite simple. It's literally an air pump, and an air tube lining connected to the air tube, and it's just connected to the sponge filter. As you can see, it's connected to sponge filter, and all it really does is that the air goes into the sponge filter to the like base of the sponge filter, then comes back up, and when it comes back up, it pulls water in the surrounding area into the sponge, and that cleans it, and that. But I need to tell you guys this: you can use any filter you want for these guys, because most filters are pretty darn good at their filtration, because they're called filters. And like the only real like necessity is that it turns ammonia into nitrate instantly, like instantly. As you can see, these guys, I have no problem with my 3 sponge filters, so I just do what works, and what works for me are these sponge filters. Okay, so another neat thing that I like about sponge filters is that these things are pretty much biological and mechanical filtration in one. Because this sponge right here, like there's the mechanical filtration, as you can see, it sucks up debris, and it also does the biological filtration where the bacteria eats up and turns ammonia into nitrite and then nitrite into nitrate. It all happens within this little sponge you see right there. Like let's say in hang-on back filter or canister filter, we have filter pads which are for mechanical filtration. Then we have like filter media, like bio rings, which are for biological filtration, etc., etc. There's like layers, which is more efficient, but like for the but these things, $5 they work pretty well. And like an air pump is also like just like $16 maybe. So yeah, these things are pretty cheap. So, and also, I say that I like these sponge filters more than a hang-on back filter. Well, not exactly, but also yes. First of all, I have used hang-on back filters, and they are awesome. I love them, but these things are just pretty safe. What I mean by that, I mean, as you can see, I just grab the sponge, I mean, hang-on back filter from down here, as you can see. This thing works with the pump. It takes water in, sucks, cleans it all in here. You know that. But like, no, I did not have it lying there. I brought it from the basement. Anyways, so this thing just runs, and like, I like these things, but it can be quite pricey. But price is not the real issue. It's just that like when the electricity get there and there's a power outage, which sometimes does happen, and sometimes it can be long 12 8-hour power outages. Most of the time the pump offs, like it stops working unless you have like a battery powered pump or something. I don't even know if those exist, but it like stops, and then the water that's remaining in this container goes into the tank, and all the filter media and the sponges and everything in there pretty much dries up, and that kills the beneficial bacteria living in it. Beneficial bacteria is the bacteria helping to detoxify the tank water. And those things die, and when they die, it makes the water toxic, and when the water is toxic, You don't want that to happen to your goldfish. So that's why I don't exactly use this. And also another reason, it's you I need to like cut the glass to like install this thing. I don't want to do with that. So I have three sponge filters because when the power goes out and the air pump stops, this sponge filter is going to stay in the water. It stay in the water, so the beneficial bacteria is not going to like dry up, and like you don't have to like recycle your tank or risk your goldfish lives. But these things do work pretty well, and if you do have like a way to keep them on, like a generator or something, go for it. But like I think sponge filters are just better. And also, let me just keep this. Also, in comparison to canister filters, which are also very nice, they like these sponge filters do the pretty much the exact same thing as canister filters do, except in a smaller ratio. They clean the water biologically and mechanically. Those canister filters can do chemical filtration, but like canister filters are way too expensive. Not way too expensive, like that's the good price. That's reasonable price, but it's quite expensive compared to like a $5 canister filter. $125 5-gallon bucket canister filter is way more expensive, and that expensiveness does come with its advantages. I mean, it works very well, but it's just very expensive, and I don't want to spend that much money because first of all it's very hard to install this in a tank like this. But yeah, so I think if you have enough sponge filters in a tank with goldfish are quite the messy fish, as you can see. But like, just give me a sec. So yeah, and when it comes to cleaning these sponge filters, it's quite easy. You just take the sponge out and just take the sponge, remove it from the system. You have like the tube and stuff. Take it and just squeeze it in like a 5-gallon bucket or something. Oh, and you just keep squeezing it until pretty much like 2 minutes maybe, and that's all done. Then set it back up, put it in tank. That's all you need to do. Maintenance. But like in like hang on back filters and canister filters, it's a bit more like rough, because like in hang on back filters and canister filters, gunk can get stuck in their impellers and stuff, making them less efficient. And they also like they are like the filter pads can get so messed up and like so dirty that they might need to be replaced. You don't need to replace these sponges because they just sit in here and do their job. No replacements needed. And like the filter media gets clogged up in like sometimes in like what like hang on back filters and canister filters. But one downside that I say is that these hang on back filters do take up a lot of space. I do agree with that. But I think if you have like a reasonable size tank that your goldfish are allowed to like swim properly, like my guys have here. Okay, this is not the biggest tank ever, but it's not the smallest tank ever. I mean, it's like pretty much the recommended size for goldfish. So yeah, this tank is big enough to handle these sponge filters. And but like up like a benefit for like hang on back filters and canister filters is that they don't occupy that much space. They just sit on the top of the tank or bottom of the tank, and just a tube or the pump or stuff like that sits in the water. And like yeah, that doesn't like do much. Like I mean, it doesn't take that much space. That it doesn't take too much swimming space from these guys. And also another downside is that sometimes, like when the power goes out and if the airline, if the air pump is underneath the tank, because sometimes they are in like cupboards, like underneath the tank. When the power goes out, sometimes the water sometimes siphons mean the water gets pulled from the tank and from the sponge filter to like the air pump, and it like leaks and stuff. But there's a simple solution for that. Check valves. Let me just pop a picture. You, that guy just yawned. Anyways, check valves. They stop this process. They stop it. They stop it like doesn't leak. I put my air pumps above the tank so it doesn't do that. But also, like I said before, the impellers sometimes burn out in like hang-on max and canister filters, which is pretty easy to like replace. But it's sometimes people don't know that their impellers have burned out and they're like wondering why the canister filter or the hang-on back filter ain't working, and like they sometimes throw it out stuff. Like they don't throw it out, they try to repair it, but it takes some like time to fix something like that. While these things, there's pretty much nothing to break. Maybe the air pump breaks, replace that. That's the only thing that can literally break the air pump. Like the sponge filter, there's nothing in there breaks. Sometimes the airline tubing gets punctured, replace that super cheap, like few cents. Yeah, also like leaking, like canister filters. I have heard many dreadful stories about canister filters leaking and like flooding their like not flooding their house but getting it soaking wet. So getting their house soaked, getting the owner's houses soaking wet, draining the tank's water to a certain level, and killing the beneficial bacteria because the beneficial bacteria dries out. Same thing for like hang-on back filters. Like if it goes to something like a wooden floor, it like rots that floor and stuff. So yeah, leaking is a thing, but these things do not leak. Like they do not leak. The only like water siphoning that would go is that thing like when the water goes like up here when that thing's down here. But that's a easy fix. Just get a check valve, and yeah, this thing's pretty prone to leaking. I mean, many people put like 10-gallon tubs and tanks in their canister filters to prevent some leakage, but like sometimes that's not enough. So yeah, these things are pretty efficient in that, like no leaking, no breaking, no drying, efficient, simple, quality, like producing a pretty quality, like coarse sponge, fine sponge, you have everything there. And filter media doesn't need to be replaced, but these sponges don't need to be replaced. I can literally use them forever pretty much. And then these sponge filters you see here, the dual sponge filters, yeah, they can break maybe like, but these things also act as an air stone. Air stones pretty much make surface tension, and like they make oxygen come in and carbon dioxide go out. These things pretty much do the same thing. That's why you don't see I see me having an air stone in here. I do have an extra air stone, but I do not use one in this tank because these sponge filters you see here, they do way more than like they do such a good job at oxygenating the water that it's just not needed. I have 3 sponge filters and they together make a ton of surface agitation. Yeah, I mean, like goldfish also like to nibble on sponge filters, which I don't know is it a good thing or a bad thing, but like any like uneaten food gets trapped in the sponge, and these guys will nibble on it and eat it before it starts decaying, which is also another upside. But another little downside to sponge filters is that they're quite noisy. The bubbling noise is quite noisy. My family doesn't like that, but I personally have no issue with it. I actually like it. It helps me relax for some reason. I don't know. I'm the kind of guy who likes like chill music and stuff. I don't know why. My style. But like I don't care about their bubbling noises, but I also like the more the bubbling noise usually, the more the surface tension and the more oxygen these guys get. So yeah. Okay, so one reason. Okay, so another reason why people don't buy like sponge filters is because like they think that it's not as efficient as like a canister filter, which they are not because canister filters are humongous. But for a tank, normal goldfish tank, they're pretty efficient, and people think that they can't keep your tank crystal clear, But I like to disagree because as you can see my tag is quite clear. There's the occasional debris or two floating around, but actually debris doesn't really bother the fish. Like, have you seen rivers? Those things are gunky and murky and filled with debris and stuff, but fish don't mind that as long as the ammonia zero nitrate is controlled. These guys don't mind. And uh, and if and like crystal clear water is for us, and sponge filters I'd say do a pretty good job at that. And I have proof. My own tank is proof to crystal clear tank water with only sponge filters. I'm telling you, this tank doesn't have anything but sponge filters, and this plant, that's all that this thing has. And like, it's crystal clear. And also, like, you can get a good amount of surface tension with cancer filters because of the spray bar. If you don't know what spray bar is, it's literally just like a PVC tube punctured with holes that you put like above the water level sometimes, which falls on there. But these things do much better job at that than like canister filters and stuff. But I would not say they are much better than canister filters. They're probably not better than canister filters for the money and efficiency. For their size, they are more like, they are pretty good, pretty like nice compared to like canister filters. But canister filters, if you have humongous, I don't know, 200-gallon or even like a 100-gallon tank, you can use one or two canister filters and that would be pretty much enough. But even then, I would recommend using sponge filters because of just in case like something leaks or like, and like the filter media dries out, you still have your sponge filters filter media which you can boost like your other canister filters. I'm just doing like this. I do not have canister filters. I don't know why I'm doing that because canister filters are below the tank probably. So yeah, in this video we talked about how cheap, efficient, and like how simple these sponge filters are, and how like nice they are. They are not like, nice means not like beautiful. They're pretty ugly, I say. I mean, they're not that ugly, but I mean, compared to a shiny, glamorous white color cancer filter, even that's hidden in like a cupboard, like stuff. These things are pretty ugly. If you're scaping your tank, maybe it's kind of quite hard to hide these things. But for goldfish tank, goldfish really don't mind, and they like to nibble on this thing for uneaten food. Sometimes algae grows like this. You can see they are nibbling on that, and yeah, sponge filters are overall awesome. And I recommend you buying sponge filter if you don't already have. Even if you have like a cancer filter or like hang on back filter, I recommend getting one just in case of a power outage and stuff. And if you like this video, subscribe, like, and so you can meet my goldfish in another video. And hope you learned something new about sponge filters, and hope I convince you to buy sponge filters. See you later. I'm Best Goldfish signing out.